Tonight's episode dives into a storm the internet can't stop talking about. We're not saying any of this is proven. These are the claims and whispers spreading across timelines and late-night threads. But the chatter is so loud, fans are shocked, and emotions ran high the moment one rumor dropped. That Charlie Kirk's own parents allegedly warned him about his wife, Erica. Viewers say an old ceremony clip now feels different, and the family was left divided, at least according to online commentary. One post even imagines a tense exchange. "Son, think twice," a motherly voice supposedly pleads, though no one has verified that moment. Still, the speculation won't quit. What's fueling it? Resurfaced clips, timeline breakdowns, and dramatic interpretations of body language that people claim show a frost in the room. Others counter that it's all coincidence, a grieving family misread by strangers, and somewhere between the theories and the pushback, a darker narrative keeps evolving. Private arguments, sudden decisions, unexplained silence. Again, these are audience discussions, not established facts. So we're doing what we do best, laying out what people are saying, why it's trending, and how this story spiraled. If the rumors are even half right, the stakes are personal. If they're wrong, the fallout is too. Let's unpack it. It started quietly, with a few scattered posts and screenshots that no one took seriously at first. People were scrolling, half awake, sipping coffee when they saw the headline flash across their feeds. Claims that Charlie Kirk's parents had tried to warn him about his wife. No proof, no confirmation, just whispers and reactions piling up by the minute. Some called it gossip, others said it was long overdue. Within hours, timelines were filled with speculation, and by nightfall, it was all anyone could talk about. What began as a rumor had turned into a full-blown conversation about loyalty, trust, and the hidden fractures inside one of the most public conservative families in America. People started revisiting old clips. The Medal of Freedom ceremony, the interviews, the couple's social media posts that once looked like pure perfection. Now every smile seemed forced, every pause felt heavy. Fans began to comment that the warmth between Charlie and Erica looked different when his parents were around. In one widely shared video, they stood apart at an event, not exchanging a single glance. The internet did what it does best. It filled the silence with stories. A few claimed that the Kirks had privately disapproved of the marriage from the start. Others said they'd merely had concerns. None of it verified, yet everyone had an opinion. Then came the emotional storm. People who once followed their journey as a power couple now debated whether it had always been doomed. One supposed insider claimed that Charlie's parents were worried about Erica's growing influence inside his organization. Another anonymous comment hinted at uncomfortable dinners, where tensions quietly simmered beneath polite smiles. It was pure online theater. Strangers turning fragments of memory into a story too dramatic to ignore. Across social media, fans split into camps. Some defended Erica fiercely, saying she was being targeted because she was strong, outspoken, and unwilling to play the grieving widow stereotype. Others insisted the warning signs were always there, pointing to old interviews where Charlie laughed nervously when asked about balancing work and home. People replayed those clips, freezing on expressions, analyzing microseconds like detectives decoding a crime scene. The words may have been harmless, but the tone, the eyes, the pauses, those were suddenly the evidence everyone needed. Behind the noise, a strange pattern emerged. Small details began to resurface. A canceled appearance, a missed family trip, an awkward exchange during a podcast. Fans stitched everything together into what looked like a timeline of cracks forming long before tragedy struck. One comment read, "You can tell when parents know something's off. They stop smiling the same way." Another user replied, "They must have warned him, and now they're keeping quiet because they can't bear to say I told you so." The thread got thousands of likes in hours, but it wasn't just random people feeding the narrative. Even verified commentators and podcast hosts began hinting at internal family strain. One show speculated that Charlie's parents might have felt isolated in their son's new life, replaced by Erica's growing public presence. A former associate of the organization allegedly told a small outlet that there had been arguments behind closed doors. Words exchanged that left the family fractured. Again, no confirmation, but that didn't stop the wave. The idea of warning, of ignored intuition, felt too powerful for people to let go. By the second week, things took an even more emotional turn. People started posting imagined dialogues, dramatic recreations of what that fateful conversation might have sounded like. "Mom, I know what I'm doing," one version began, met with, "Son, you're trusting too easily." The comment sections flooded with thousands of people agreeing. Arguing, crying emoji after crying emoji, the family that once symbolized faith and unity had become a stage for heartbreak. And while most observers admitted these were just rumors, they couldn't look away. One viral video said it perfectly. Maybe it's not about what's true anymore. Maybe it's about how it feels true. The emotional rhythm of the story made sense to people, even if the facts didn't. They saw in Charlie's story a reflection of their own. Parents warning, children falling in love, and tragedy making everyone question whether they should have listened. Meanwhile, Erica's silence became its own headline. She hadn't said a word publicly since the storm began, and that absence only made people talk louder. Every quiet day was read as strategy. Every old post she didn't delete was treated like a message. If she really wanted to clear things up, she would speak. Fans wrote under every new upload mentioning her name. Others countered that she had every right to grieve privately and protect her family from further pain. But in a world where silence is louder than words, her quietness echoed like thunder. Then someone claimed they'd found an old clip of Charlie joking about how his parents were protective to a fault. He said it laughingly, but the internet twisted it into something darker. Commenters claimed it was proof his parents saw it coming. Even his warmth, his humor, his honesty were now treated as foreshadowing. Nothing was safe from reinterpretation. It was as if the entire internet had decided to rewrite the story from scratch, casting the parents as tragic prophets and Erica as the mysterious figure at the center of their loss. And still, the core truth remained untouched. No one really knew what had happened behind closed doors. Everything was speculation layered with emotion, stitched together by people who wanted answers the world might never provide. But as the days went on, it no longer mattered whether the claims were verified or not. What mattered was that millions were watching, sharing, feeling, turning a family's private pain into the biggest public mystery on the internet. Public mystery on the internet. As the online frenzy deepened, more self-proclaimed sources began to appear, each claiming to know what really happened between Charlie, Erica, and his parents. One account, which had only a few dozen followers before the drama began, suddenly exploded overnight after posting a long thread describing an alleged dinner confrontation months before Charlie's death. According to the post, the meal started warm, full of laughter and nostalgia, until Charlie's father supposedly brought up finances and asked Erica a few pointed questions about her growing role in their son's organization. The thread described the mood shifting instantly. The air turned cold, like someone had opened a window in winter. By the end of that imaginary dinner, people were crying, voices were raised, and Charlie allegedly left the table in silence. There was no proof of this dinner, no photos, no confirmation, but that didn't stop hundreds of thousands from believing it. Comments flooded in. "That sounds exactly like what my parents would do if they didn't trust my partner," one user wrote. Another said, "This feels too real to be fake." It was emotion, not evidence, driving the story forward. News aggregators picked up the thread, carefully using phrases like, "a fan claims," or "unverified reports suggest," while the headlines themselves grew bolder and more theatrical. Every outlet knew this story had become internet gold. Podcasters jumped in next. One popular show replayed old audio clips of Charlie and Erica talking about marriage, slowing them down for tone analysis. The host pointed out moments where Charlie's voice cracked or his laughter seemed strained. "See, that's nervous energy," he said to his co-host, who nodded gravely. It didn't matter that everyone laughs differently on camera. Once the narrative took hold, it shaped how people heard everything. Then came a twist no one expected. A resurfaced message from an old interview where Erica described herself as misunderstood by people who didn't know her yet. That single quote reignited the entire theory. Suddenly, internet detectives were convinced she had been hinting at a rift with Charlie's parents all along. Captions like, "Was she talking about them?" and "This aged horribly" filled every corner of social media. A line spoken years earlier became evidence in the court of public opinion. Fans weren't content to just talk. They started investigating. One user built a color-coded spreadsheet tracking every appearance Erica and the parents made together. Public events, photo ops, charity dinners. Each awkward photo was tagged with red. Each warm smile was marked green. By the end of the week, the chart was mostly red. And though it proved nothing, it spread everywhere. People love patterns, and when they don't exist, they make them. Theories began mutating. Some claimed the parents had seen warning signs long before Charlie did. Others speculated that they had tried to intervene, but were shut out. A few even pushed the idea that Erica and Charlie's relationship was purely strategic. A power alliance disguised as love. Again, all rumors, all fan-generated, but the sheer volume made it impossible to ignore. Commentators started saying, allegedly, so often it became part of the show's rhythm. Meanwhile, the emotional fallout reached its peak. People online started sharing personal stories of being ignored by their own families, comparing themselves to Charlie or to his parents. Hashtags like Dwight parent warnings and should have listened trended for days. One viral post read, "Sometimes love blinds you, and the ones who love you most see the truth you can't." It wasn't about Charlie anymore. It was about everyone projecting their own heartbreak onto his story. Then another surprise surfaced. Someone unearthed an old video where Charlie's mother spoke about faith, family, and intuition at a women's event years earlier. She said, "A mother always knows when her son's in trouble, even if he smiles through it." The audience had clapped warmly back then. Now that line became a thunderclap. She knew, the comments read. She was talking about Erica even back then. The clip spread faster than wildfire. In response, a few friends of the family tried to calm things down, urging people to stop speculating and respect their privacy. But the more they asked for quiet, the louder the noise grew. Silence, after all, feels like mystery online. And mystery is fuel. Fans said, if there's nothing to hide, why won't they speak? Everyone wanted closure, and no one was willing to wait for truth. Then came what many called the eerie coincidence. A small outlet published an article claiming that, weeks before Charlie's passing, Erica had allegedly made a large financial transaction linked to one of the organization's vendors. There was no confirmation, no document, just an unnamed source familiar with the matter. But it was enough to send the internet spiraling again. In chat groups and comment sections, people mixed this rumor with the family tension narrative, building a web of theories that grew more dramatic by the minute. One popular post combined both threads into a cinematic retelling. His parents warned him, it began, but love made him blind. She played her role, and when the curtain fell, the stage was empty. Tens of thousands shared it. The story had stopped being about real people and had become modern folklore. Part heartbreak, part conspiracy, part cautionary tale. What made it so powerful was how believable it felt. A family divided, a son caught between love and loyalty, a silence that grew too long. These were universal emotions, and once the internet wrapped them around the Kirk family, it didn't matter whether any of it was true. What mattered was how it made people feel, and how each new theory seemed to confirm the last. Through all this, Erica remained silent. She didn't post, didn't appear at public events, didn't comment. Her silence was treated like a confession by some, like dignity by others. One side said she was hiding, the other said she was healing. And while they argued, the story only grew bigger, louder, and far more complicated than anyone could have imagined. As the storm refused to fade, new layers kept unfolding, each one more dramatic than the last. A few online commentators began framing the story as a tragedy of pride, a tale of a son torn between his heart and his home. One video narrator said, "Imagine being told the person you love isn't who they seem to be, and ignoring that because love makes you believe you can fix anything." That line struck deep. Thousands of viewers commented with crying emojis, saying they felt like they were watching a real-life soap opera unravel in slow motion. Rumors began to morph into imagined scenes that played out like scripted dramas. Fans described tense family dinners, whispered warnings, and long silences filled with unspoken regret. Someone wrote a vivid post that spread like wildfire. They said his mother looked across the table, her eyes heavy with fear, and told him, "Son, love doesn't mean blindness." But he just smiled and said, "You don't know her like I do. No evidence, no recording, just storytelling." Yet it felt so real that people believed it happened. The internet blurred the line between truth and theater until they were indistinguishable. As days passed, the online investigation deepened. Amateur sleuths began searching through financial records, charity filings, and even old photos, convinced they would find something hidden in plain sight. One user posted screenshots claiming that Erica had met with two unfamiliar figures shortly before Charlie's last public appearance. Others claimed to have cross-referenced flight logs and hotel check-ins, though nothing was verified. Still, the illusion of proof gave the story new life. What made the entire situation even stranger was how quiet Charlie's parents remained. They hadn't spoken publicly since the tragedy, and that silence was treated like another clue. Maybe they're protecting something, one thread read. Maybe they're afraid. Others countered that they were just grieving privately, refusing to turn their pain into a spectacle. But on the internet, mystery is irresistible. The more they stayed out of sight, the more people filled in the blanks. One podcast episode claimed that friends close to the family had confirmed the parents' disapproval. The hosts spoke in hushed tones, as though they were uncovering state secrets. They loved their son, one said, but they didn't love the path he was walking. Dramatic music swelled under the dialogue, making it sound like a movie rather than a discussion. Within hours, the clip went viral. The comments were relentless, half sympathizing with the parents, half accusing them of disrespecting their son's choices. And then came a new emotional twist. Fans began to rewatch old interviews between Charlie and Erica, analyzing every interaction. One clip from a podcast resurfaced where Erica interrupted Charlie mid-sentence to clarify his point. At the time, it was harmless banter, but now people claim to see tension. "She cuts him off too fast," one comment read. "Look at his eyes, he's embarrassed." Others disagreed, saying it was just playful chemistry. But in the feverish atmosphere of the internet, perception became fact. One theory, which quickly went viral, suggested that the parents had tried one last time to reach out just weeks before Charlie's passing. A supposed text message circulated online. A blurry screenshot showing someone labeled Mom writing, "Please talk to us, son. It's important." The message had no context, no verification, no timestamp, yet millions viewed it as undeniable proof. The emotional weight of the words was enough to carry it. One user commented, "That one text says everything." Through all this noise, Erica's name became a lightning rod. Some called her a victim of cruel speculation. Others labeled her a master manipulator. Threads dissected her expressions, tone, and even wardrobe from past appearances. One fan account posted a collage of her smiles over time, claiming they had changed. The post went viral with captions like, "The smile that fooled everyone." Another viewer replied, "Or maybe that's just grief." It didn't matter which side you took. Either way, the debate kept the story alive. Then, a particularly explosive claim surfaced. An unverified source alleged that Erica had recently been appointed to a high position within Charlie's organization, and that this was planned before his passing. Again, there was no official confirmation, but the story was too dramatic to ignore. Commentators framed it as a power move, saying it proved the parents' warnings might have been justified. "Love and ambition rarely mix well," one host declared. That line trended across social media like a quote from a movie trailer. As the narrative grew darker, people began assigning motives. Some speculated that the marriage had been about influence. Others said it was all coincidence magnified by grief. One thread posed the question that kept everyone hooked. Were the parents right all along, or are they being used to villainize a widow? It was the perfect balance of tragedy and suspicion. No answers, only more questions. And then, just when things seemed to be quieting down, another twist hit. A clip from the memorial service began circulating again. Erica, dressed in black, stood at the podium, her voice steady as she said, "To die free is the greatest victory." At the time, it was seen as poetic, a message of faith and courage. But now, that line was being reinterpreted as something colder, something distant. Viewers debated endlessly. "That's strength," some said. "That's rehearsal," others argued. Within a single evening, her eulogy was transformed from a moment of grace into another piece of evidence for both sides. And as fans rewatched the footage, frame by frame, new theories bloomed. "Her hands don't shake," one user noted. "No tears," another added. Soon, every movement became symbolic, every breath a clue. The grief that once united people had become a battleground. By this point, the entire saga had escaped the family's control. It wasn't about truth anymore. It was about the story people wanted to believe. The alleged warnings, the silences, the money rumors, the eulogy, all fused into one unstoppable narrative. Every post claiming to end the speculation only fueled it more. And somewhere in the chaos, one heartbreaking truth emerged. No matter what really happened, the internet had already written its version of the story, and it wasn't letting go. The noise had become unbearable. Every corner of the internet buzzed with new claims, new discoveries, and endless arguments over what Charlie's parents might have meant, what Erica's silence could mean, and whether any of it would ever be clarified. Even the most skeptical followers had started to admit that something about the situation felt off. Not necessarily criminal, but emotionally strange, like a story missing its final chapter. Videos, posts, and podcasts all echoed the same haunting question. What were the parents really trying to warn their son about? The timeline of rumors was now almost cinematic. One version claimed the parents had sensed Erica's ambition long before the wedding. Another said they feared she would isolate Charlie from his roots, his faith, and the very people who'd built him. Neither version had proof, yet both spread like wildfire. One late-night host dramatized it perfectly, saying, "It's Shakespearean, a son in love, parents in despair, and an empire waiting in the wings." His words weren't meant as fact, but they captured what millions of viewers already believed, that something deeper than love had been playing out behind the scenes. Clips of Erica stepping into leadership roles after Charlie's death were replayed with slow, dramatic music. Fans filled the comments with phrases like "too soon," "planned from the start," and "the calm after the storm." Others defended her fiercely, arguing that grief comes in many forms and that her poise was strength, not strategy. One viewer wrote, "She's holding herself together because she has to. That's not manipulation, that's survival." But the internet doesn't do moderation. Every opinion spawned 10 more. Then came a chilling turn. Someone claimed to have access to private correspondence between Charlie's parents and a close family friend, suggesting they were concerned about decisions being made after his passing. The screenshots were grainy, unverified, and possibly fabricated, but the emotional language struck a nerve. Phrases like "we're being kept out" and "this isn't what he wanted" began trending. People reposted them endlessly, pairing them with sad music and slow-motion clips of Charlie and his parents from happier times. Whether real or fake, the images felt true enough to keep the drama alive. Soon, the story wasn't just about family. It became a symbol. News outlets called it the silent war of grief. Podcasts debated whether love could blind even the smartest people. TikTokers made cinematic edits showing side-by-side shots of Charlie smiling and his parents watching from the background, eyes unreadable. Under each post, comments poured in from strangers writing, "My parents warned me too," or "I wish I'd listened." What started as one family's tragedy had turned into a collective reflection on love, loyalty, and regret. Through it all, Charlie's parents stayed hidden from view. No statements, no interviews, no online presence. Their absence became its own presence, haunting, heavy, and endlessly interpreted. Some said they were silenced. Others believed they'd chosen peace over chaos. Either way, the image of them retreating while the world argued over their words gave the story a sense of eerie finality. A viral video of a commentator whispering, "Maybe they're done talking because they already said everything that mattered," pulled in millions of views overnight. In contrast, Erica's reappearance months later reignited everything. Dressed in neutral tones, she walked onto a stage at a faith-based event and spoke about resilience and forgiveness. She didn't mention Charlie's name, but the crowd knew. When she said, "Sometimes silence is mercy," the audience applauded, but the internet exploded. Critics said she was taunting the rumors, speaking in riddles. Supporters said it was the first real sign she was healing. Either way, the moment went viral instantly, sparking another wave of speculation that felt more like theater than reality. One post summed it up perfectly. "This isn't a story anymore. It's a saga, a mix of grief, faith, ambition, and mystery that no one can stop watching." People who'd never cared about the Kirk family before now debated timelines and motives like they were part of a courtroom drama. Creators posted emotional montages titled "The Warning They Ignored" and "What Love Didn't See Coming." Every clip of Erica smiling, every pause in the parents' old speeches, every faint detail became part of an endless emotional puzzle. As weeks turned into months, the public fascination refused to die down. Analysts began comparing it to other viral scandals, noting how digital audiences crave unsolved stories more than clear answers. "It's not the truth they want," one media expert said. "It's the feeling of being inside the mystery." And that's exactly what kept this story alive. The emotional pull of not knowing, of wondering whether the parents had truly seen something their son could not. The latest twist came when an anonymous post appeared on a discussion board claiming that Charlie's parents had quietly met with members of his organization to discuss restructuring his legacy. There were no photos, no confirmations, but the rumor spread faster than any before. "They're trying to reclaim what was his," people said. Others insisted it was a lie to make them look controlling. Within hours, hashtags like "Trust the Warning" and "Trust Silent Truth" trended again. Even with no proof, the digital world treated every new line like gospel. The emotional weight of it all became almost unbearable. In comments and videos, people began speaking less about what happened and more about how it made them feel. Some cried on camera, saying the story reminded them of their own family conflicts. Others simply watched in silence, scrolling through edits that turned private pain into public obsession. And in the middle of it all, no one could tell where fact ended and fiction began. By the time the news cycle started to move on, the damage was done. Reputations were reshaped, relationships reimagined, and memories rewritten by millions of strangers. Yet one haunting truth lingered. It no longer mattered whether the parents had actually warned their son or not. What mattered was that people believed they did. Because belief, especially online, is stronger than evidence. And once that belief takes root, it becomes impossible to erase. In the end, the story of Charlie Kirk's parents and their alleged warning became less about them and more about us. About how easily we fill silence with stories, how desperately we crave explanation in tragedy, and how quickly empathy turns into spectacle. The internet had taken their grief and turned it into entertainment. And somewhere between the hashtags and headlines, the real people behind it all disappeared into the noise, leaving only a question echoing through every comment section. Were they right all along? Or did we just make them right by believing it all along? Or did we just make them right by believing it? And that's where this emotional roller coaster leaves everyone. In the middle of a story that feels too dramatic to be real, yet too powerful to ignore. We may never know what actually happened behind those closed doors, or whether the rumors about warnings, silence, and ambition have any truth to them. What we do know is that millions of people are still searching for answers, still debating whether love blinded a son, whether grief disguised strategy, and whether the parents' quiet distance means sorrow or satisfaction. One thing's certain, this story has left fans divided, families reflecting, and the internet obsessed. The posts, the theories, the tears, they all point to one fact: no one can look away. Was this a tragic misunderstanding that spiraled out of control? Or was it something much darker? Something no one saw coming? That's for you to decide, so now it's your turn. What do you think really happened? Were the parents right to be cautious? Or were they unfairly painted as villains in a love story gone wrong? Share your thoughts below, because this conversation isn't over yet. And if you want to stay updated as new claims, clips, and theories surface, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you never miss a breakdown of the stories everyone's whispering about. Because in the end, truth may be quiet, but the internet never is.